Hello there, my name is Grant. Presently, I am at university, and this video today is, what would you call it? Video essay, I suppose? Bit of a commentary on William Shakespeare's The Comedy of Errors for my English class being taught by Professor Neil Kennedy. For this little project today, I'm going to give a brief summary of the plot. I will be talking about the introduction and Act 1, Scene 1, the opening monologues, and I'll finish up with my general opinion. So let us begin. The Comedy of Errors is the story of the twin brothers Antipholus, and these brothers were separated in their infancy. Antipholus of Syracuse, and we have Antipholus of Ephesus. So the two brothers are aware that they have a twin somewhere. However, the cost of traveling around looking for your twin brother in ancient Mediterranean countries would have been spectacular. So only one of the twins has been able to collect the money needed for this several years expedition searching for his long-lost twin brother. Now, as William Shakespeare would have it, both of these twins, Antipholus, also have a manservant, and they are both twins as well. And their names are both Dromio. Dromio of Syracuse and Dromio of Ephesus. So how does that happen? Well, we are told that the mother of the Antipholus twins gave birth, and right next door, the mother of the Dromio twins gave birth. And the mother of the Dromio twins was extremely poor. She was a peasant and didn't have the money necessary to take care of these twins. So these twins were either, I believe they were sold to the rich family as, these twins will take care of your twins. They will be their manservant in perpetuity. So that is how one pair of noble, rich twins has a pair of, it's a bit ridiculous, has a pair of manservant twins exactly at the same age. Why do they have the same name? Don't ask that. Antipholus of Syracuse is on a big journey searching for his brother. And what happens is that he lands in Ephesus, unknowing that his twin brother is in residence there. And he and his manservant Dromio go roaming around the city. And what happens is that people confuse this Antipholus for the Antipholus who lives there that they are familiar with. The real humor and the fun in it is when Antipholus of Syracuse sends his servant Dromio of Syracuse out. Where does he send him first? First, he sends him to the inn where they are staying, saying, he says, take this money, put it in the inn. It's a lot of money. I trust you, but we need to secure this money because Ephesus is known for its witches and wizardry, and it's a land of, bad juju. So he sends his manservant away with the money, and Dromio, the other Dromio, Dromio of Ephesus, comes back and he says, wow, that was quick. Did you put the money in the inn? And this other Dromio says, what money? I'm here to call you to lunch because your wife is waiting for you. And he says, what do you? I don't have a wife and I don't even care. Where is the money I just gave you? And they have this little witty, not very witty, bit of a slapstick exchange about where is the money? I have no idea what money you're talking about. Your wife's going to be angry if you don't come home to lunch. And he beats the servant. Both of the Dromios get quite a lot of beatings throughout the play. It is somewhat of a slapstick comedy that Dromio gets beaten quite often. And that is the gist of the play, that there are two pairs of twins and they are mistaken for one another, and these little humorous bits. One of them is given a necklace which was meant for the other one, and he takes it, and then the jeweler who has given that twin the necklace demands the money from the other twin, who says, well, where is the necklace? The jeweler says, I just gave it to you. Where is the money? He says, I'm not going to give you any money until you give me the necklace. Hilarity ensues. I wanted to talk a little bit about the introduction to the play, which is Act 1, Scene 1. When I went back to it, the introduction was so exceptionally long, surprisingly long. Typically in a Shakespearean play, to quickly get the audience familiar with where they are, the settings and the times, there will be some very obvious discussion which sets up where we are, who are the main characters, and who we should care about. Just for example, in Titus Andronicus, Act 1, Scene 1, Saturninus is talking to the crowd and he's saying, you should elect me as the new king. His brother, Bassianus, says, no, you should not elect him, you should elect me. All right, and all of this takes about 17 lines. It's really very quick and gets to the point, and we understand the scenario. Noble patricians, patrons of my right, defend the justice of my cause with arms, and countrymen, my loving followers, plead my successive title with your swords. I am his firstborn son, that was the last, that were the imperial diadem of Rome. Then let my father's honors live in me, nor wrong mine age with this indignity. His brother Bassianus, Romans, friends, followers, favorers of my right, if ever Bassianus, Caesar's son, were gracious in the eyes of royal Rome, keep then this passage to the capital, and suffer not dishonor to approach the imperial seat. Do virtue consecrate, do justice, consonance, and nobility, but let desert and pure election shine, and Romans fight for the freedom of your choice. Okay, so the two brothers are arguing over the who shall be the king. Enter Marcus Andronicus with the crown, and Marcus makes a long speech saying that neither of these brothers are as good as who I think should be the leader, who is Titus Andronicus. So that all happens in less than 40 lines of dialogue. Even one of the very lesser produced, for good reason, plays of Shakespeare, Timon of Athens. Timon of Athens begins with a poet and a painter discussing what they do for a living and how they plan to sell it to Timon of Athens, because he is so free with his money that he is a patron to everyone. As long as he has money, he just gives it away, without care. And so they are discussing this about how lucky they are to have a patron. It doesn't take very long for that play to introduce the scene and the dilemma. But the Comedy of Errors, the introduction, the opening scene, Act 1, Scene 1, it's almost 160 lines of dialogue. Most of it monologues, actually, from the two principal characters, and it's very long-winded. It really seems to take an unusual amount of time for Shakespeare to set up his scenario. And the scenario that it does set up seems to be not the most important thing in the play. Aegon arrives in Ephesus, and he's someone from Syracuse. And now there's some trouble between these two cities, Ephesus and Syracuse, that because of some trouble with their merchants, Syracusean merchants are not allowed to trade in Ephesus, and vice versa. And if anyone is caught from that land, they will be executed. And that's what the majority of the first act is all about, is this situation. So Aegon from Syracuse, proceed Solinus, which is the name of the Duke of Ephesus. Proceed Solinus to procure my fall, and by the doom of death and woes and all, the Duke Solinus. Merchant of Syracusa, plead no more. I am not partial to infringe our laws. The enmity and discord which of late sprung from the rancorous outrage of your Duke to merchants, our well-dealing countrymen, who, wanting guilders to redeem their lives, have sealed this rigorate statutes with their bloods, excludes all pity from our threatening lunks. They're setting that up, that those people from that city, land, cannot come here to trade. They're putting their lives at risk doing so. And Aegon has come here. So telling the story of the two Antipholus. Yes, okay, about his wife giving birth to the twins, and about how that they are going home on a boat. The boat was shipwrecked. The wife was, for some peculiar reason, given one of the babies, and also one of the Dromio servant babies, and she was tied to the mast, and hopefully she will be alive by the end of it. The point I want to say is that I feel that the introduction to this play really surprised me in its length and, lack of brevity, to put it plainly. That Typically, Shakespeare is not the easiest thing for us to read. However, knowing that the first scene sets up where we are, the circumstances, and a hint of the trouble to come makes it so much easier. Like, you just know that in the first act, the first scene, the whole play will be presented to you, which it's great. You have to imagine that you are a theater goer who goes into the theater. They have no idea what to expect. It's hard to even imagine the rudimentary state of the theater at the time. People dressed up in who knows what kind of costumes. They come out on stage, and before the action can begin, we need to know the basis. What is happening? Where are we with this situation? And if you look at all of Shakespeare's plays, you can see that in the introduction. We have this quickly telling the audience where we are. And I just wanted to say, for the purposes of this video, that wow, like Act 1, Scene 1, it just goes on and on and on. There's these very long monologues between these two characters. It's surprisingly, well, lacking in brevity. That's the phrase that keeps coming to my mind. All right. Oh, my favorite part. So as I said in the introduction, Dromio is beaten and beaten and beaten. And there's this one bit, it's not very long, but I enjoyed it very much, that Antipholus, this is one more of those crazy mistaken identity scenarios. Antipholus of Ephesus has sent his Dromio home, to his home, to ask for money from his wife because he needs to pay this jeweler that I mentioned earlier. However, the other Antipholus has asked the Dromio to go and buy a rope. Antipholus of Ephesus, he is expecting Dromio to return with a big pile of money, and his manservant comes back with a rope, which costs very little compared to what he was expecting. Here comes my man. I think he brings the money. How now, sir? Have you that I sent you for? Here's that. I warrant you, we'll pay them all. But where's the money? Why, sir, I gave the money for the rope. 500 ducats, villain, for rope. I'll serve you, sir, 500 at the rate. So 500 ducats should have bought like 500 spools of rope. And he came back with one. It's like if you gave someone a $100 bill and they came back and they gave you a newspaper. Like, there you go. Where's the rest of the money? What do you mean? There's the newspaper you sent me for. To what end did I bid thee hie thee home? To a rope's end, sir, and to that end am I returned? And to that end, sir, I will welcome you. He beats Dromio. Good sir, be patient. Nay, 'tis for me to be patient. I am in adversity. Good now, hold thy tongue. Nay, rather persuade him to hold his hands. Thou whoreson, senseless villain. I would I were senseless, sir, that I might not feel your blows. Antipholus, thou art sensible in nothing but blows, and so is an ass. And this is my favorite part of the play. Dromio, I am an ass indeed. You may prove it by my long ears. I have served him from the hour of my nativity to this instant, and have nothing at his hands for my service but blows. When I am cold, he heats me with beating. When I am warm, he cools me with beating. I am waked with it when I sleep, raised with it when I sit, driven out of doors with it when I go from home, welcome homed with it when I return. Nay, I bear it on my shoulders as a beggar want her brat, and I think when he hath lamed me, I shall beg with it from door to door. I like that. When I'm cold, he warms me with it. When I am warm, he cools me with it. Somehow that really pleased me. Now, my overall opinion of this play, Comedy of Errors, I think this is my favorite comedy of William Shakespeare. As I've mentioned many times before in several past videos, I'm not terribly partial to the comedies. I find them a little silly, a little bit goofy. There's quite a lot of that shenanigans in the forest, and fairies and sprites causing a bit of mayhem in the forest, changing identities, and I don't like that too much. And I suppose I must say that I like this one because perhaps it's a bit more grounded. Like there's no magical or supernatural influences in this story. They do talk about, this land is infamous for its devilish supernatural influences. In one of the Antipholus of Syracuse, he believes that it is like this witchcraft which is causing people to acknowledge him and to say hello to him using his proper name. He can't understand it. It is a little funny that this man has been on an 8-year voyage searching for his twin brother, and he goes to a city and everybody's greeting him like, "Oh, Antipholus, how are you doing? And let me show you somewhere. Let me measure you for a suit." And he's thinking, "Well, God, everybody sure does know me in this city, and they look at me and they see my face and they call me Antipholus. I must be witchcraft, not my twin brother living here." But So far, it is my favorite. I asked Professor Kennedy last year which is his favorite comedy, and I think he told me that it was Twelfth Night, as well as he mentioned another one. I think it was As You Like It. And I read As You Like It a couple of years ago, and I just remember it was not my favorite. This really is. This is my favorite comedy by Shakespeare. So I'm very pleased to have read that this year. Shame that the Act 1, Scene 1 was so terribly long-winded, but the funny thing about this is that Shakespeare is always being borrowed from very frequently, not plainly, not like the recent adaptation of Macbeth, but loosely borrowed from. And I thought this play would have been made more often, because I know that Twelfth Night has been remade or readapted in various forms in various films, but the only one I could discover was an old film from I think the 1980s with Bette Midler and Lily Tomlin. And I watched the trailer, and it was, sometimes when you go back and you look at those old films and you just think, my, there is a world that does no longer exist. I was never a fan of Bette Midler. She was always too, I guess a kind way of saying it is too loudly energetic. The way I actually feel is just that she was so awfully obnoxious. I guess that was her character. Her character was this loud, vivacious, say the crass thing kind of woman. And Lily Tomlin, I just remember Lily Tomlin really like freaking out she was in some scene not too long ago where she was really having a temper tantrum with her co-stars, and it soured my opinion on Lily Tomlin.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you! Get the fucking thing together, fuck you! No! God damn it! You fucked it up, god damn you!
Because I always remembered her from that Steve Martin film. No, wait a minute, not The Man with Two Brains, it's the other one. All of Me, that's it. Where the ghost of Lily Tomlin goes into Steve Martin, and another one of those goofy comedies from the 80s. But I like that. I remember watching that as a child and thinking it was really well done. It was goofy, and I was quite immature, so it was wonderful for me. So I always had that little bit of happiness regarding Lily Tomlin. And then when I saw her like shrieking at her co-stars in this film, I was like, oh my. So that is all for today. That's touching on a few light ideas from the Comedy of Errors. I hope that was interesting for you. I enjoyed reading the play. I thought it was quite funny. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope that was something interesting for you. All right, it's for my university. What can I say? This is Grant Loves Books. Take care. This is really not going to make a very good video for YouTube, but for my university education.
Car! Right, fuck you too.
No, I'm not. I'm fine.
Don't get out.
I'll break the fucking set apart. I don't even give a fuck.
That doesn't matter because you're there.
Oh, shut up. You shut the fuck up too.